Hello and welcome to our first hour of gameplay of Farming Simulator 2015. So far we did only set up our game and graphics and test the performance doing some tutorials. Now let's start into our first career game and see what the first hour has to offer. Well, we will choose the easiest difficulty to start with and we will play on the Mohr map with a Nordic flair. The loading times are short. We are asked whether we would like a tour of the game in the beginning. We won't say no to that. On the bottom left there is a map. It seems to have an active marker for our next target. What strikes us immediately is the very clean and flat interface. The symbolism is kept very minimalistic. It's quite nice. Well, our first task seems to be to harvest the field with this harvester. It looks really nice, a very detailed model, sharp textures. There's even some dirt on the surfaces. The tiles are dirty. It all looks very convincing. Okay, let's get into the harvester. The engine turns on automatically and we are in third-person view. Even the farm is displayed. It fits well inside, it's all very nice. We attach the header by pressing Q. There is another option to put the harvester into work mode by pressing X. So let's do that. It's all very nicely animated. We start the header. We get another pop-up that shows us some controls. There is also a cruise control which can be adjusted freely so we don't have to constantly press the acceleration button. The vehicle will then move at a set speed or, when on the field, at working speed. So here we go. We notice the exhaust effect looks like air turbulence. That's nicely done, quite up to date actually. The wheat gets cut, the tufts disappear, all that's left is the ground texture. The chopped residues come out at the end of the machine. That's not badly done, seems to be a combination of the texture and particle effects to show this flowing material. In any case, the performance doesn't suffer from these effects, so it seems to be well optimized. Okay, we could unload already, but we want to keep harvesting a little longer and have a look at the graphics some more. We have reached the end of the field and here we can see the attention to detail. Look how the harvester does not pull material in anymore, but is processing the existing material and throwing it out as waste with some delay. So let's turn around and we notice tire tracks on the floor, which is also very nice. Although we have no real dynamic terrain polygon-wise, it's still a nice effect and it fits the game. Alright, we change to the first-person view with the C key. We can look around freely, the textures are not quite as sharp, but it's okay like that. The mirrors seem to work too, they reflect the environment in real time, that's fine. We start to move again, now we can see how the header starts turning. The animations are convincing. The values on the panels are not just painted on it, they are actually showing the real values. Speed, fill level and so on. Very good. Let's enjoy the graphics for another moment. We are quite pleased with the art style and the level of detail. Of course, it's not a CryEngine, but what we have seen so far is convincing. A nice addition is the dirt that accumulates on vehicles and equipment when in use. And if we are not mistaken, we can already notice it on the harvester. Well, our harvester is getting full. the pipe is already extending automatically. We do notice the working lights at this point, so let us say it again. The detail on the vehicles, the animations, the effects, they are all very consistent, and it takes some time till you have noticed everything. Alright, a tractor with a trailer is sitting at the lower end of the field, a marker is blinking on the map, so that's where we are going to unload. The pipe is extended, we have to position it over the trailer. That's what we are doing now, and the unloading starts automatically. Yes, this is looking good. Even the filling texture on the trailer seems to behave dynamically. It creates a slope from where the material hits to the outer edges. Sure, we can see a few polygons here and there, but it still looks alright. We are done now harvesting the field and unload the rest of the trailer. We park the harvester and get out. We can see how the dirt is really showing now, especially on the header. Okay, let's go to the tractor. The trailer seems to be a Brandner. The tractor is a Hurleyman. We have to attach the trailer first using the Q key, and we have a blinking marker on the map that tells us where to go. Again, let's take a moment to look at the model. There's dirt on the tires, a lot of details on the vehicle, hot air from the exhaust, the farmer sits in the tractor. The same is true for the trailer, even the shadows are there. The first person view is also available and looking convincing. Well, let's go. Let's check the mirrors again if the reflections are still there, and yep, everything is as it should be. This is something we can expect in 2014. What strikes us, however, is that the level of detail of the vehicles and machines does not translate one-on-one to the landscape. The terrain is actually lacking in detail, meaning the texture is okay, quite sharp, but we notice that it's very generic and mounted on a fairly rough grid. This is something we can do much better today. Here is a comparison with a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance, currently in development in the CryEngine. And that's how a road can look like today, with some depth, roadsides, simply more subtleties in the polygon structure, which seem to be missing completely in Farming Simulator 15. At least we have vertical grass textures on the grass terrain. The trees look okay too, not a highlight, but it fits the overall art style. There is still much room for improvement here though. While driving we notice some dust gets stirred up, and the tracks on the terrain are visible also. It does not just happen on the field. At this point we have something to say about the driving physics. The driving style is kinda arcade, so very direct controls. Although the weight can be felt, we would imagine the real machines to be much heavier and slower than they feel right now. When driving uphill they do have power limits and they slow down. That's good, but there is no dynamic sound, meaning the engines always sound the same. Not like they have to pull a heavy load. So we finally approach the unloading zone. Let's move up there. Alright, that's how we make money in the game. We grow grain or other things, harvest them and bring them to a point of sale. Doing this will fill up the account, the figure can be seen on the top right. And with that money we can buy new machines. After we place the trailer over the loading zone, we activate the tilting mechanism. The wheat gets unloaded, it smokes heavily and the account is filling up. Using the tab key we can move quickly through the vehicles we own, which is handy. What do we have here? A new machine with a cultivator behind it. Let's get out and move to the question mark. Okay, after a field is harvested, we have to cultivate it. Here we have a tractor of Deutz, an Agrostar 6.61. Again, the details are nice. The exhaust towards the air, we have a weight on the front and the cultivator on the back. They both have a dirt texture. Very good. Let's start with cultivating the field. The manual steering is much more restless than before on the harvester. The tractor doesn't want to stay on track. We constantly need to readjust the steering wheel. We don't have much experience on how realistic this is, but it will become tiring in the long run. Alright then, we could move on to the next step, but we want to go on cultivating a bit more and have an in-depth look. The effects on the cultivator look good. The uplifted earth is simulated with a texture, particle effects complete the picture, dust is stirred up also. Behind the cultivator the old texture is replaced by a new one, so we can see what got cultivated already. Sadly there isn't that big of a change. As we mentioned earlier, there is no dynamic terrain with a changing polygon structure. We will leave it to the helper to work this field out. Well, let's jump to the next step. Another Deutz Agrostar 6.61, this time we have to sow a field. The machine is already available, a Pöttinger Vitasem 302 ADD. Again, nice details, sharp texture, it's still convincing. The quality of the machine seems to be consistently high. Oh, first we must choose the seed we want to sow. We can do that with the O key. Next we need to fill the sower. We move near the seed bags and use the R key to fill it up. On the map we already have a blinking target. That's probably the field we have to sow. That's where we go next. Here we notice that the old track marks are beginning to vanish. There seems to be a limit on how many overlays the engine can handle, which is totally expected. The question is whether it depends on time passed or track amount. Probably both. Well then, we turn on the sewing machine and set off. Again, we have to compensate for the tractor wanting to move to the side. He doesn't stay on track. We can move on again to the next step, but let's stay here for a second. We see the machine is animated, the wheels with ground contact turn, dust is stirred up, the terrain texture gets replaced and helps us see where we have sown already. We also notice the machine getting dirty. This is very well done. The sower with ground contact got dirty faster than the tractor. This kind of detail shows us that they put some thought into it. Well, let's jump to the last step of this introduction to the game. Alright, we are in another Hurleyman tractor, near the car dealership it seems. The P key will pull up the dealer menu at any time. Okay, that seems to be it, we have the basics down. Well then, let's look at the shop. Supposedly there should be about 100 individual models and about 40 brands. That sounds like a lot. Okay, the design looks nice and flat, we get to see a grid with different categories. There is no bargain to be had yet. We move on to the harvesters. We already know the Comia C6, there is a New Holland TC590, a few Case agriculture models, a Pöttinger and a Krone. They differ both in terms of capacity and harvestable fruits. Next are the headers. There are different sizes that match different harvesters. Then there are trailers for the headers so that they can be transported on normal roads using a harvester or another tractor. There are special harvesters for potatoes and sugar beets. Next come trailers. Again, there seems to be a progression from the smallest to the largest and most expensive one. A dolly comes next for trailers that need it to be pulled by a tractor. Then there are plows. They don't just prepare our field after the harvest, they also can expand the boundaries of the field if we want to. Next come the cultivators. They mainly differ in working width. The sowing machines in the list do not only have different working widths, they are also limited to different types of seeds. You have to look closely for that. Then come fertilizing machines. That's a step we didn't have in the introduction yet. They probably increase the yield of a field. There is also crop spraying. They have the same function as fertilizers, both increase the yield, but don't add their effects up. We go to slurry tanks, same function again as fertilizing machines. When operating livestock, the byproduct is manure. These machines can spread it on the field. Okay, these are grass mowers, self-explanatory. Next come tethers. You need them if you want to make hay from grass. With windrowers, the grass or hay can be pushed together to form rows. Loader wagons can then load up the grass, hay or straw. The next category deals with baling technology. Grass, hay or straw is pressed into bales and stored. Sometimes bales are wrapped and fermented into silage directly. Next are forage machines. They are needed to mix grass, hay or silage to feed animals. Here we have a special trailer that can load its content into other trailers, which makes sense to use on large harvests, filling up larger trailers before going to a point of sale. Then we have the weights in 3 classes. They are used to increase traction on the wheels of a tractor when axes are overloaded on one side. It will restore balance. The next category deals with forestry, which was newly introduced in Farming Simulator 15. We have trailers, loaders, a stump miller, wood chipper, everything we need. There are also chainsaws if we want to cut trees manually. We have a car to move quickly from A to B. Next come front loaders with all sorts of attachments. The same goes for teleloaders. In the general category we have a water tank, fuel tank and a flatbed. Nice stuff for larger farming operations. Placeable objects can generate money. The Karcher pressure washer can clean up your machines. We have cattle, sheep and chickens for livestock. Then there's a truck for really large operations. Next are front loaders attachments for tractors if you don't want to buy a separate machine for that. Finally, of course, the tractors themselves. We already know the smaller Hurleman and Deutz, but there are many larger machines that are quite expensive but do the better job. That's it for the shop for now. There are quite a few machines, even if some categories don't have that many. There is not a lot of redundancy. They got put in with progression in mind, meaning every purchase is not only another piece, but a better one. This is better from a gameplay perspective. Some simulation fans will naturally want to expand their fleet further, and thanks to the modding community for this game, there will be nearly everything one can desire. Next, let's have a look at the menu, which can be opened with the E key. Again, with the flat design, everything is looking consistent. We have the weather forecast, news and a general overview of our finances on the first page. Using the arrow keys above, we move to the price list. Here we see all fruit variants and each selling point. In the vehicle section we get an idea where our machines are. We can even filter them. This is very convenient. From here we can also jump to a machine. The map shows us the status of the fields, whether they are sown or not, if they are ready to harvest or did rot already. We have an overview of our livestock with products in stock. These statistics show us what we have achieved by now. We notice that we can't directly jump to a page. That will involve a lot of page turning. Well then, the introduction is done and we can work on our career now. We are still a small fish with only a few machines. We have to make some money and now we know how, harvesting fields of course. We let this machine cultivate this field, the helper will do it for us. Next we jump to another tractor and let this one go on sowing this field. Then we have one tractor near the point of sale. We want to bring this one back to our farm. Interesting fact, there is a scale here, and it's even working. It even reacts to the single trailer. Not bad. But now we drive home. This is our farm. It consists of several buildings. We have to mention this again, but the level of detail of the landscape and buildings is not on par with the vehicles. The longer we play, the more we notice this. Shame really, maybe in the next version. Let's have a look at the farm. We already know the loading point for seeds. There's a pile of wood chips. One of potatoes and one of sugar beet. Right over there we have a loading point for fertilizer and pesticides. we get into the Hurleyman and have a look at our warehouse. There's a drop-off site at the farm where we can temporarily store our harvest. It makes sense to wait for special prices and then sell everything in one go. The loading site, once approached with the trailer, allows us to select the desired good and fill the trailer with it. Again, everything is nicely animated. Dynamic fill textures give it a nice look. Nearby we have access to a help menu through a phone booth. All the game concepts are explained here, useful if you want to know how to handle livestock, for example. A fountain near the phone booth serves as a filling zone for water tanks. Water is needed for livestock. Now we will move some of our grain stock to some points of sale. We have wheat, barley, canola and corn, as well as potatoes and sugar beets. This will improve our balance sheet. Near the streets there are gas stations. Do not forget to keep the vehicles topped up or they will simply stop working. There is a biogas plant on the map. Here we can produce or store silage later on and even sell it. Then there are stores for our cows and sheep. Here we can feed them and pick up their products. Once we reach the mill, we unload our trailer. The boards nearby display missions. If we complete them, we can earn some money. The next charge goes to the grain elevator, while the helpers do their work. Sadly, we don't get any notification yet when helpers are done with their work. Hopefully this will be patched, or our mother fixes this somehow. After the helper is done cultivating, we take the machine to our first field that we harvested earlier and get it ready again. We notice that helpers don't use fuel nor seeds or fertilizers. Sure, this makes it easier to handle many helpers, but it does somewhat diminish the value of the simulation as it requires significantly less organization. A positive feature is that the machines continue getting dirty even if we are not driving ourselves. The Deutz is really dirty now. We arrive at the next field. We let the helper do the cultivating. Once part of the field is cultivated, we let a second tractor start sowing. Again, we notice that the performance remains stable, although many more machines are in the scene now. Now that we have enough money, we can buy a new machine. Our choice falls on a sprayer from Amazon to fertilize our fields and increase revenues. After purchasing the new machine, it appears in the parking lot of the dealership. Since we already have a tractor there, we will take it on and drive it to our farm. The sprayer is well modeled. The texture is not quite as sharp, but we only notice it if we go in really close. The animations are there, even the turn signal works. On the farm we will fill the sprayer at the appropriate loading site. There is no animation for it, only money gets deducted from our account. Then we move to the sown field. Once we are there, we unfold the machine to reach full spray width. During the spraying process the soil texture turns dark, a visual clue to know where we have sprayed. As we don't dig up the terrain, the track marks stay visible, a nice detail. After we are done cultivating, we put the doits and cultivator near a barn on our farm. Let's have a closer look at the dirt texture. This should be the maximum level of dirt. We have to say it looks quite convincing. The Kercher pressure washer should be able to clean these machines. We will put it on the list. Once the seeding is completed, we also take that tractor to the barn next to the other machines. Both are digit too. We finish up fertilizing and then bring the last machine to the barn. We notice that the Amazone sprayer is not dirty. Could be because it's not touching the ground, but there was dust. We will keep an eye on it to see if it gets dirty over time or if it misses a dirt texture. The workday is coming to an end, just like our first hour in this game. Let's have a look at our vehicles again. We note again that our performance doesn't suffer much, even with 4 tractors and 5 devices in a small space. We lose maybe 5 to 10 FPS. A compliment to the devs at this point. The final action of the day is moving to the field to see the plants grow. There are several stages of growth, and depending on the game settings, a certain time passes until the fruits are ready to be harvested. Well, that's it from us for now. Thank you for watching. We hope you got a good first impression on how to start with this game. We are happy with what we have seen. The graphics are mostly fine, the performance is nice and stable, no bugs or crashes. The overall package does what it promises. The next few hours in the game will show us if it will stay this way, so stay tuned.